Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Sid, and we are here live at the Umzansi Esports League Season 4. And my phone goes off as soon as we go live. What more do you expect, guys? What a way to start the show. I'm here with DK and Patchy, and we are ready for some amazing PUBG Mobile action. We had some amazing action last week, but let's run you through the schedule for today's activity.
Well, it's the same stuff. We've got our Erangel, we've got our Sanhok, we've got our Miramar, and this is of course the format that we've been having throughout the season so far. Throughout round one, of course, it does change as we progress, but for now, it is the standard setup as per usual. Nothing too crazy, but just in case you didn't know, the usual setup: Erangel is our bread and butter map. It is our tried and true. It's the middle ground for all of the action. Then, of course, game number 2 happens on Sanhok, which is the close quarters, the CQC, the small map of the bunch. And then map number 3 is Miramar. That's the bigger map, the long range engagements that we always like to see to round things out. And of course, all the teams are battling for that very nice prize pool, quite a hefty one, $15,000 there for the PUBG Mobile segment, out of a total of $17,500, of course, two and a half of which come from the FIFA 22, which is yet to kick off, I believe.
Yes, FIFA 22 is yet to kick off. We are waiting for the teams to get acclimatized with the new FIFA which just came out, and when they get acclimatized and they build some very, 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 very formidable ultimate team teams, then we will let them come and compete for that $2,500. But for now, it's just focus on the PUBG Mobile action and that $15,000, which is up for the prize pool. But let's also take a look at some of the stats and the overall leaderboard of what is happening going on. DK, jam us up.
Well, of course, jumping straight into the leaderboard, we can see G3, KHK, Rila Inside, and Slime 4KT sitting up in those beautiful top 4 positions with quite an impressive amount of winner chicken dinners already under their belt. G3 and KHK sitting on 3 chickens apiece. Of course, Rila Inside and 4KT sitting on 2. Then as we move on, we got the players there from Somalia, Team Somalia, sitting over in 5th place with 1 winner chicken dinner. We also have Solo Esports in the mix, as well as Zero Tolerance Skills, and of course the side main. Now, Solo Esports is the only team, I think the name is quite fitting here, sitting up on this first page without a winner chicken dinner just yet. So who knows, maybe we'll see some of that change as we progress through this weekend. Of course, we know that they are not stepping up to the plate today, as we've got a few other teams participating, but it's going to be quite interesting to see what the teams will bring on through as we head over into our second page. Here we've got the players from the Infinity AF, also from Somalia, sitting on 1 chicken dinner and 123 points on board. As we move over towards BBC, we can see there are also 2 winner chicken dinners coming in for them, and just a 2-point difference. Of course, the players there from Seven Sins Arts of Killing sitting over in 11th. We've got Aphelion Apex, we've got C Esports, we've got the players there from Rainbow Six Madagascar, as well as Influence Rage Africa, and then of course the players coming in there from ATROX over in slot 16. Now, moving into our third page, we've got the players coming in from Lag Esports, we've got the Magicians, we've got Sincerity Esports, the Natural Killers, Young Thunder, Black Clover, Rain from Hell, as well as Team Unique. Now, obviously, these first 3 pages, this is kind of where the teams want to be situated. This is kind of that prime real estate for the teams to potentially move over in towards the next phase. And I'm curious to see, of course, exactly what the teams are going to be doing today, whether or not we'll have any of those changes coming through as the teams go about their business, looking to duke it out a little bit more. And as we jump onto our final page, here we've got XO Redefined, the players from Immortalz, as well as Fear, Comfy 6, Black Crystal, Ultra 6, and Toxic Esports. Now, 3 actually of the teams we have sitting in the bottom 4 are participating in today's matches. So this will be that opportunity for the likes of Toxic Esports, Ultra 6, as well as the players moving in Of course, in from I believe that is Comfy Six, yes, ooh, and Fear also. They are all participating in today's game, so looking to see whether or not they can move themselves up. The players there from Immortalz as well. So yeah, quite a few teams sitting at the bottom end of the leaderboard. Now it's going to be that opportunity for them to catapult themselves up the leaderboard. And one way of getting that done, well, kind of the only way of getting that done, is making use of the point structure. The teams being awarded 15 points if they come into first place. The points, of course, trickle down all the way down to 13th to 16th place, where they get that big fact 0. Now, what's also quite important is going to be the 1 point awarded per kill. We've seen teams really make quite a bit of a difference. And if we look back to, for instance, what we saw for G3, they are currently sitting on 106 kills. So that is almost half the points they have just being awarded to the kills they've been able to acquire throughout the game. So if any of the teams sitting at the bottom end of that leaderboard wants to see themselves move up, they can, of course, make great use of that 1 point per kill. Aside from the lovely placement points they do get awarded along the way.
Yes, the point structure is there to make sure that these teams have an opportunity and understand what it takes to move up the leaderboard. But right now, today is day 10. Let us take a look at the kill leaders. We have Zeke, Fex from 4KT, Buden, and Gunner from G3 Tampa. As you can see, these players are putting up some amazing numbers with 32, 31, 29, and 26 kills respectively. Now, it is so amazing to see these players. Obviously, we're excited to see who else can be jumping into the kill leaders and to see who's going to be getting all these stats and pushing their teams up to more chicken dinners. As I like to say, getting the chickens from the different places that they are getting the chickens from. Because as you know, chicken is necessary to make chicken dinner. If you don't have chicken, you can't make chicken dinner. So, ladies and gentlemen, have we ever seen someone win and get a winner chicken dinner in this tournament without any kills? It's not even possible. Is it? It is possible.
It is
It is
possible,
possible.
but
See,
we
that's
haven't seen it.
we haven't seen it. So yes,
Mm.
guaranteed you need chicken dinner, chicken to get chicken dinner in this tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Umzansi Esports League. This is season 4, the PUBG Mobile segment. It is Dr. Sid, DK, Patchy. It is action that is about to happen. We are flying in and look at the teams that are popping up right now. Patchy, talk us through who's here and who do we expect to shake some tables.
Yeah, I was hoping we would get to the subject. I mean, you can see right here on the screens which teams are going up against. If you need a reminder, it's Group B versus Group C that we're going to be witnessing today. And I really wanted to highlight the teams that I really think are going to be showing up today. You saw the MVPs just a little earlier, and out of those MVPs, we saw 3 teams represented, and 2 out of those 3 teams are currently playing in this grouping here today in B versus C. So if you turn your eyes towards the teams in Group B, you'll see the likes of 4KT and the likes of Rila Insiders, as well as, of course, C Esports in this group right here. And I mean, we already know what 4KT are capable of. They're sitting very high towards the top of the leaderboards at the moment. The same thing with Rila Insiders, who've proven to be quite a formidable team in and of themselves as well. Definitely come and been doing as Dr. Sid has suggested, shaking those tables. C Esports also showing up in a big way and really showing us what they're made of. Certainly coming in swinging big. But another team that I actually wanted to focus on as we move over into Group C is actually the team there from Aphelion Apex. They've really been stepping it up recently, and I think they've actually shown us that they're quite a formidable team for themselves as well. So I do expect them to be quite a team to keep an eye on, at least for the future, depending on how they decide to play this. Of course, we're not going to see the teams that are sitting really, really high just give their absolute 100%. They're going to be saving themselves for the next round because most of the top performing teams right now have secured themselves for the next round. Seven Sons AOK is another team that we've also been looking at. Zero Tolerance Skills and Influence Rage have also been doing very, very well. So, I mean, we've got some really, really big teams in the group today, and I'm really hoping that escalates the action, that really gets things going a lot earlier on, because one of the things that I've really wanted to see is that earlier action, and we did see a little bit of it earlier in the previous week, but not as much as I've been wanting, and I've really been hoping that the point structure of that reward for the kills, the 1 point for 1 kill, would really try and boost teams to, or motivate teams, should I say, to actually go for the kills a lot more. And I mean, solo esports is probably one of the best examples. You know, DK was talking about it as we were going through that overall leaderboard. They have 0 chicken dinners, but they are on page number 1. That means, yeah, sure, their placements have been consistent, but the kills have been so much more. The kills are where they find most of the content of those points. You know, if they can stay consistent, sure, but if you get those kills, you're most likely going to be in a consistent placement position as well. So if you're getting those kills and you're maintaining a decent position, you don't even need the chicken dinners at that point. And solo esports is a perfect example of that. So I've really hoped that some of the teams really take the initiative and actually go for those kills a lot sooner.
Yes, I was just going to jump in and say that, you know, if you are gathering a lot of chicken and you can't make a chicken dinner, you can have a chicken lunch. And the chicken lunch doesn't necessarily mean that you have chicken dinner, but you'll be getting a lot of key points, and that chicken lunch can propel you up the table and set you up for a nice catapult to take over the leaderboard. So, DK, today there are a lot of people that are going to be fighting in the top side of the table and all over the place. But who specifically are you thinking is going to come to and just hold it down today like they always do or never do?
Well, I gotta say, I am gonna be keeping an eye on the players coming in from C Esports. I want to see what they can do. You know, they are also out here representing for the lovely, coming in on the side of Ivory Coast. You know, and le français c'est mon préféré. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll just continue on with that.
Oui, oui,
But,
oh
yeah.
la la.
C'est très bon, no?
Hey, oui.
Yeah, there we go.
I
Exactly.
want to see what they are going to do as well, because the name C kind of sounds like seed.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
kinda. I mean, yeah, I can see how you got to that conclusion, but I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on the players from C Esports, looking, you know, to see, of course, what do they have in store for us and whether or not they'll be looking to catapult themselves up. Currently on the leaderboard, they find themselves in a very centralized kind of spot, sitting over in that 13th place. So they've got a good opportunity to move themselves up even further. But then if we look at a few teams that really need to hope that things come together today, it'll be the teams that I've mentioned before. That'd be Toxic Esports, Ultra 6, Comfy 6, as well as Fear and Immortalz.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to 4KT. I think they've always held it down. They surprised me last season. And, you know, 4KT can definitely do some big things. So the plane is in the air, so are the players, and they're going to be dropping to the grounds very shortly. I will leave you a quicker time with DK and Pachi as they bring you all the action. Let's go.
Thank you, Dr. Sid. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, it is day number 1 of this week's games here, week number 4 for the Umzansi Esports League. We're still in round number 1, and of course, map number 1 for today's games is, of course, going to be the good old Erangel, the bread and butter, the standard that we were talking about a little earlier, nice and comfy for these teams. And, you know, earlier we were talking about some of our teams that we're looking forward to seeing perform here. And I don't think that's really the question anymore. We know these teams like 4KT can perform. We know these teams, like Seven Sins, AOK can perform. Rila Insiders can perform. Influence Rage, Zero Tolerance. These guys can perform. The question is, are they going to? Do they feel like it? Have they woken up on the right side of the bed is the question that we have to see. Because as I mentioned a little bit earlier, some of these teams are kind of secure for this round.
Yeah, some of them kind of are, but I mean, then some of them kind of aren't, you know? So looking at what we've got coming in with our flight path and zone, it is very similar to what we had all the way back in game 1. All those weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, and I'm curious to see whether or not we're going to have a similar kind of result coming through. All the teams, of course, moving up in towards their usual kind of drops. We've got the players from Rila Insider dropping all the way down over on towards that far western side. The players there from AOK heading once again straight up in towards Primorsk. So a very kind of standard drop with regards to where the teams have headed. The zone now shifting up a little bit further in towards the north instead of being more focused towards the western side. Will change up those strategies the teams will need to bring into this match. But of course, the players from Influence Rage find themselves right at the top, smack dab center zone. So this is one of those times where dropping up in Saverni actually works out quite favorably for the team now is going to be a situation of whether or not they can hold on to those positions and actually defend it should more teams start rolling up into that direction. And now, as we also look over on towards Yasnaya, you can see 3 teams already dropping down, and things are going to get quite interesting here for CE Sports as well as Rain from Hell. And then I wasn't able to see who our third team is that is sharing the space here with them, but the pressure is going to be on. These teams need to play it so careful and so calculated, especially finding themselves in such close proximity.
Yeah, they're certainly going to have to do that, but at least the close proximity will bring, a little bit of the aggressive finger, just the finger pointing over and then testing the water, seeing if it's good, seeing if it's hot or cold, as these teams like to do. They like to stir it a little bit, but not really hard commit until they know what is going on, which is good. It's good, but we want to see the action in any case, and I can already see there's a couple of spots around that map where some teams are nice and close, so hopefully we'll start to see a little bit of engagement here and there. I do expect a lot of rotations to come through eventually, because of the fact that the zone is so far up north. Hopefully maybe we'll see a little bit of gatekeeping and whatnot. That's always going to be exciting to watch, but for now, of course, it's just the good old loot and shoot, loot and move, get yourself vehicles, make sure you're ready to go. And we wait and see. What I'm really interested in actually is to follow teams like Ultra 6, Comfy 6, and Fear, who are currently our teams that are sitting, and the Immortalz, actually, if I'm not mistaken, sitting down at the bottom of the leaderboard, the overall leaderboard. They're sitting on that 4th page. They're very much in the fire right now. The question is, can they actually bring themselves up out of that? Because we've seen a few times already, even in this season alone, where teams that are on that 4th page, all they need is that one good game, and they can boost themselves out of that relegation. And these teams are looking for that, that time in the light, that time in the sunshine that could just get them enough points to get out. And I'm interested to see if they can do it.
It's going to be important for them. They are slowly but surely starting to run out of opportunities to step up, grab those much needed points, and catapult themselves up those leaderboards. And I'm a little bit worried. They can't really postpone the efforts too long. They need to get on top of it rather sooner than later, because we've seen this happen a few times before. The longer teams wait, the harder and the more difficult it becomes to actually make that move, to make that change. So just looking at what we've got, of course, coming in with our drop locations here, the players from Toxic. I'm not quite sure. Did we see them on the map? Oh wait, yeah, I did see them somewhere. I can't remember where they jumped, but they are here somewhere, I believe. Seeing that we only now have 15 teams, so that means we're already starting it off with 1 team short. Curious to see exactly who that is that we don't have in this game, but yeah, Battery, it's going to be so important for the players from Toxic, Ultra 6, Comfy 6, Fear, and Immortalz to just bring it all together and play the best games that they can play, starting especially like from today. Because if we look at a team, for instance, like Toxic, they've only been able to accumulate a grand total of 34 points. Ultra 6 is just 3 points up ahead of them, sitting on 37. So they could still make quite a bit of a considerable change to those numbers should they play a strong game in this one.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the leaderboard currently, right now, our game is very interestingly balanced right now, because out of the bottom page, out of the last page, that 4th page, the relegation zone of that overall leaderboard, there are 7 teams on that list. Out of those 7, 5 of those teams are playing in this group right now. Those 5 teams are Immortalz, Fear, Comfy 6, Ultra 6, and Toxic Esport. And they're all teams that need to get out of this relegation zone. And Toxic Esports actually right at the bottom. They are dead last at the moment. And they need some hectic points to get themselves up. But it's not impossible. I mean, we've seen teams drop 30 bombs in a single game. And actually, a 30 bomb for Toxic Esports right now would actually get them straight out of that relegation zone. So, I mean, on one side, we've got so many teams from the bottom of the leaderboard. But on the flip side, out of the top 4 teams on the overall leaderboard, 2 of them are in this group, Rila Insiders and 4KT. So we've got like both ends of the spectrum in this group right now. And the question is, are our top performing teams going to be, coming to play today with their, not necessarily the 100%, but with enough of that skill that we know them for to actually stop those bottom teams from getting the points they need?
Yeah, this is the proving ground, because if we look back to what we saw in our first match coming in between Group B and Group C, that is where we had the players from Zero Tolerance finishing up in pole position, with C Esports taking that second place. But on the flip side, it was a really tough start for the likes of Toxic Esports, Immortalz, Comfy Six, as well as Influence Rage Africa. Now that is not necessarily a spot we see Influence Rage frequent way too often, being the first team back in the lobby. But so far, today, we don't know exactly what the teams are going to be bringing to the table just yet. We do see the team there from Aphelion Apex looking to secure themselves a position a little bit closer towards that more centralized kind of setup in the zone. And Comfy Six also now making their way along that eastern edge of the zone. So this is where positioning is going to be absolutely essential, reading those zones and being able to rotate your team up. Now, what I like about Comfy Six rotation here is they're moving up towards the north. That whole northeastern section of the zone is completely open. They are free to move in, free to take a position, and potentially even sneak up in behind the teams we have positioned in, for instance, like Saverny, or just a little bit more closer to that more centralized region. And Hainsley, it doesn't seem like he's got any reinforcements there with him. He's just hanging back in case that zone does decide to shift back further in towards the north. So it could actually be quite an interesting play coming in for the side there of Comfy Six.
Yeah, it certainly could be. Of course, we've just seen our zone shift once again, moving slightly more, or at least maintaining its position there on the northern side of our current playable area. So the teams are going to have to continue their long track to freedom up to that north of the map. Not feeling too bad about that. So, of course, Influence Rage, they're quite happy to just chill in that Saverny side. Of course, as you mentioned, they've got pretty good control of that region. Means they're going to come and join the rest of the team. Comfy Six, they have made their rotation up into Stalba, so they're okay for now, but they do have to make their rotation across that line as well. And they might just be meeting a little bit of resistance as they get there. You can see a couple of teams amassing towards the east of that zone at the moment as the teams start to trickle down into those open areas in the north and the east. So hopefully they don't get caught out, because I think that's going to start happening a lot once these teams start to run into each other. In the meantime, Mesta is going to run himself over. And I think I should still mention that the offer from last week is still out there. If you can flip your car, if you can give it a 360 or a somersault in the air, you get 1,000 patchy points. Just putting that out there. The challenge is still alive, and that counts for until I say it doesn't count. So that's today and tomorrow and whenever.
Yeah.
The rest of the season, if I say so.
Yeah. It could even be on Tuesday. Who knows?
It could,
right?
Yeah. Maybe. No,
But
it
speaking
has to be
about
on
Tuesday,
camera.
Speaking about Tuesday, though, I noticed that the players from Ultra 6, that's the team that we don't have in the lobby. They usually slot into slot 10, so we can see, of course, the overall starts only from 11. So that is a little bit of a rip for Ultra 6. We know in their first match up against the players, up against these groups, they were able to accumulate 10 placement points, finishing pretty strong in third. But it seems like today is a little bit of a tougher start. And now the teams are yet to get into any major engagements. Yes, we see a few points already being awarded to teams. The players here from Zero Tolerance, of course, already sitting on 2 kills, with Hate being able to rake in one of them. But now as the teams are getting closer and closer together, this is where that pressure really starts to mount. Because now it's not a strategic gameplay as much anymore. It's now more of a, you're looking to kind of alleviate the pressure of the teams looking to push onto you.
Yeah, it's a complicated time that these teams are staring down at the moment. There's a lot of pieces in play that they have to consider. Right now, like you said, not that many fights taking place at the moment. And of course, that is going to be changing quite soon, because as we know, traditionally, historically, as that zone gets smaller and smaller, the teams are forced to fight. I mean, that's the whole premise of the game. I'm going to keep harping on the fact that I'd like to see a little bit more control from some of the teams, but I think we'll most likely start to see a little bit more of that coming out as the round progresses further. Maybe in the next round, we'll start to see a bit more, as those top teams start to flex their muscles just a bit more than here in round one, which I think, we're sitting at 50% power. It's not over 9,000 just yet. So, we still got a little ways to go before we get there, before the teams do unveil their full potential. But in any case, we're going to see that zone shift up once again. It's going towards the west. Just a little bit, so that's forcing out quite a few rotation. That's probably going to mean that the eastern side of that zone is going to be quite packed. Hopefully, we see some fights off the back of that because I'm ready to see them, DK. I'm ready to see some
Yeah.
fights, man.
Yeah, well, one team that's already fighting, right? They're not fighting anyone. They're fighting big old Papa Blue there, right? That is the side of Seven Sins. They've decided to rotate along that southern edge, trying to come in over towards the eastern side. But unfortunately for them, the zone said, bazinga,
Nope.
and shift all the way over towards the far west. So now they got to turn around. They were already there when they started their rotation, kind of. And now they got to track all the way back to get back into the zone. But of course, we can hear the shots now starting to come on through over on this far western edge as 4KT and the players here from Rila Insider come into pretty close proximity to each other. Those shots finding their way on through. Aima already getting knocked with that. Zeus now also goes down. So the pressure is going to be on for 4KT to try and hold on. But as we look over towards the east, we can see a lot of the teams also just fighting for control over this region here. And it is so heavily congested. This is going to be a little bit of a crazy one.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a crazy one. I think one of the questions that's hanging around in my mind is for teams like, for instance, let's talk about Comfy Six right now. Do you think they have the potential to actually get themselves the points that they need? Do you think they have the skill to do it, or are they actually going to just fall victim to some of these other teams that have really been on the up and up recently?
Skill, yes. Potential, yes. It all comes down to how they play and how they read the zone, whether they are able to position themselves in a strong place, right? We saw them all the way over on that far eastern edge. They have that whole northern kind of coastline to wrap around and try and inch their way back in towards zone. Now, if they use this tactfully, they could actually apply a very interesting rotation and kind of sneak in onto zones, onto teams positioned within that zone. So I'd be quite surprised if they're not doing that, but I'd be very satisfied if they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right with you on that one. And speaking of, we've already got some shots coming through. So that's ATROX there in the kill feed taking some serious damage. You already saw on your screen just a moment ago 4KT right up here against a couple of other teams, and they're very much under fire at the moment. So there's a lot of pressure building, just as we expected. Of course, now that that blue zone is closed in once again, the pressure is indeed rising. Things are boiling over a little bit in towards the east and the west of the map, which are looking very congested right now. And speak of the devil, Comfy Six in the kill feed. They're just putting in a little bit of damage. You can see on your screen young Thundercats going in for the insiders. The Rila insiders, of course, having done very, very well through the season already. They don't necessarily need to put so many points on the board, so they can do weird things like this. For instance, letting Roda just sit by himself in the Wizard Tower. It looks like Old Boy is going to be perishing there in the kill feed as well. So we've got some things happening around the map, but there are still 15 teams here on the board, and we need to see just a little bit more.
Ooh, well, that was some really good coverage coming through from Romeo up on the balcony, as you would expect, as the name kind of implies. But now we can see that blue zone also starting to close on in. And this is where the players need to be so careful with how they start to rotate in. Yes, we still have 14 teams remaining. That is still a pretty big number. And now Young Thunder find themselves over on this western edge. Fix and Pronto from 4KT holding just atop the ridge there. But that is a really strong position actually for Fix and Pronto. They have kind of priority when it comes to rotating back into zone, as they do find themselves a little bit closer, but they also know that Young Thunder needs to kind of roll past them. So this is a beautiful setup coming in from 4KT, just the way that they've been able to read these potential rotations coming in. And I believe that is Zeus that we can see up in the top right corner, just securing himself a little bit closer, trying to set up that anchor point. But now, as the players here from Young Thunder start rotating out, this is where it all comes to play. Whether or not 4KT can find the necessary shots, but also to keep in mind, they are contending against that blue zone that is starting to move in.
Yeah, and things are going to be heating up a little bit more as Young Thunder have started to roll away right across from 4KT, just trying to get their Snake Eyes. Oh, I don't know if that counts as a roll, to be honest. 500 patchy points for an attempt right there. That was still decent enough to see. He's going to lose his life for it, it looks like, as the shots come in from 4KT side. But the Young Thundercats do their best to try and get away from that, rolling past 4KT and making it out alive for the time being. But they are going to be visited by none other than Aphelion Apex, who is right there to greet them as they roll on through. Kage going to be putting some shots in, and they do indeed land. So already, straight off the bat, we've got some fights breaking out. Here's the Rila inside, who's absolutely going for it up here in the north of the map, maintaining their position, getting those smokes down as well as they contend against some of these teams in the nearby area.
Yeah, and Influence Rage, again, now looking to not be the first team out. So fortunately for them, we did already see a team getting sent back into the lobby. Now 14 remain, and we see the players here from Aphelion Apex actually looking to show a little bit of dominance, a little bit of control over on towards the southwestern side. Up ahead, of course, is Young Thunder and 4KT. Snake Eyes holding out, trying to ride out that blue zone, but Kage now getting ready to rotate up. Now as we jump back into the north, we can see the players from Fear actually keeping a very watchful eye on the engagement happening up ahead. This being still the players from Influence Rage, as well as the side from Rila Insider. With that, Suli does go down, and the whole team from Influence Rage gets sent back into... They did better than last time, you know, not being the first team back, at least now being the second, the second to last team getting sent away. But this is where the pressure is on, as the zone has shifted over towards that eastern side once again. And we see the players there from Lag, Immortalz, as well as Zero Tolerance Skill, finding themselves in a good position. But I have to say, I'm quite liking the position that Lag find themselves in. It is a little bit more high ground. They have a lot more vision from that point. And now it's going to be a question of whether or not they'll be able to defend that position.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And speaking of defending, Argus not able to continue his defense here as he has been knocked down for the time being. That's Fear. It's Hulk putting in a couple of shots there. Rao trying to fire back just a little bit. Broly doing the damage with that DP there in the kill feed. I've been seeing Comfy 6 in that kill feed quite a bit for this game so far. I'm interested to see if they're going to maintain this role because they are definitely on the lookout. You can see their HP bars a little bit suspect here, and insiders are rolling up in their positions. They have to be careful on this one. But so far, they've been doing some good damage here. If they can maintain this position, they might just be able to pick up some kills. But if Rila Insiders have anything to say about it, they might not be living for much longer. Up they come to try and put on the pressure. Can the Comfy 6 defend is the question, because right now they're up against too many variables. Unknown trying to spray through the smoke in the meantime, and he's finding a little bit of damage there. They have to be super, super careful here. Unknown is, of course, the last player remaining out of this two-team squad here from Toxic. But he is putting in the damage nonetheless. He's chilling in that hut. He's making it happen.
Yeah, I like his whole hut approaches, you know. He's going up and down, trying to get a decent spray out there. So you gotta compliment the efforts. It was a good effort nonetheless. But of course, Unknown, he's the last shining hopeful. He started off with Mr. Raji by his side. And sadly, Mr. Raji got sent off, but up comes a quick few other rotations heading in from this western edge. Toxic now jumping at the opportunity, being fearless as he is trying to quickly deal with the players from Fear, rotating in right below them. Of course, we've got the side of 4KT, and this is, again, going to be a highly contested zone. 11 teams remain. We've got the players there from Comfy 6 as well as Rila Insider holding over on towards that offside. We do see the players there from CE Sports also just positioned on the edge of that zone. The Immortalz, we got Lag, we got the players from Seven Sins, Arts of Killing, we got Aphelion Apex as well. So this is going to be a pretty crazy fight. But of course, no team wants to be the team to find themselves in the midst of this chaos.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Nobody wants to be that center team because they are just going to get absolutely pelted from every single angle imaginable. So nobody wants to really put themselves in that position, but they're going to have to force themselves to get closer because that zone has shifted up once again. It's gotten smaller, and all of the teams basically have to move on into that location. So you've got 4KT down here trying to scope out any of the competitors in the surrounding area. You've got Kavira trying to toss a couple of nades across as the 7 Sins AOK team needs to get on through, and Rusty is taken down by Skull there as they start to rotate across. So Aphelion Apex now under some serious pressure as 7 AOK is challenging them for their spot, and it looks like they might not just be able to defend this one. Sicko going down, and Rusty, of course, getting taken straight out. Aphelion Apex instantly crumbling under the pressure. 7 AOK easily able to just roll straight over them, which is unfortunate for them. I was hoping to see a little bit more out of Aphelion Apex, but nonetheless, the fight is still continuing. Broly is still doing what he does here. That DP is absolutely shredding.
Yeah, that is just looking so crazy, and of course that ever lovely M249 in the hands there of Safwan. But now the pressure is on as Zero starting to move in. He does get a little bit of spray coming in from the side of Skull, just holding down on that ridgeline. Manfilla stepping up with an aim, trying to put it through. Kavera up ahead, finds the hit straight onto Zero. Down he goes. Will Kavera be the hero? We'll have to wait and see. Fantasy and Safwan also now starting to move a little bit closer, looking to fortify this region here. But this is going to be so tough. Looking at the compound we do see in play, Zero Tolerance and the players from the Immortalz being able to secure a decent compound, but the zone is just barely touching it. So it is going to be a fight for control as the blue zone is starting to close on in. 6 teams remain, 2 teams positioned up in towards the northeast. The spray down comes through as the Immortalz and Zero Tolerance start going at it. We see the players there from Lag. Of course, the art of killing also exchanging a few hits a little bit further down towards the south. Now we're waiting, of course. Oh, we don't have to wait anymore. Pronto goes right on down as it gets picked up by the players coming in from C Esports. And now 5 teams remain, but it's looking really tough for the Immortalz.
Yeah, you can absolutely see that some of those top teams are not giving their 100%, which is okay, because that gives a little bit of opportunity for some of the other teams to step up. And indeed, we are seeing some teams in some proper positions, as you mentioned, the Immortalz under some pressure. But that's good, because the Immortalz are sitting right down on that last page. They need the points. They need those kills desperately, and they need those placements. Making up into the top 5 is going to guarantee them at least some of those placement points. But if they can get some kills under their belt as well, that's going to be huge for some assistance. Zero Tolerance, however, looking hungry for the kills themselves, looking hungry to end this thing up. And speaking of Fantasy, just moving up with that UMP in hand, shredding through the HPs, but does get clapped back immediately. Skull, though, is there to just defend his team, coming in there with the assist and instantly clapping him down. Now Brony on the assault here, looking for Zero Tolerance, and the Immortalz, and he's actually going to find some of the damage through the window there. Skeeter also going to fall as he tries to put some shots across the way. We're down to our top 3 teams now. Zero Tolerance skills. We've got C Esports, and we've also got Lag. Our triangle of doom is sealed, but right now C Esports are in the perfect position inside zone, and they've got all of their players, DK.
Yeah, we might have a triangle of doom, but C's got themselves in that lovely bubble. And now the side of the players there from Zero Tolerance, they need to push. They need to try and get back up into zone. The same, of course, going from Lag. And I wouldn't be surprised to see C Esports actually walking away with a chicken here. Just looking at how they are positioned and spread out through the zone, it is looking to be quite a favorable angle, but they need to be careful. They can't get cocky. They need to stay on top of it. They need to retain the focus, or rather maintain the focus, and just stay on the money, because this is now the do or die situation. Blue zone is starting to make its way forward. The players there from Zero Tolerance are sending out the smokes, so it is going to be a pretty clear path as to how they're going to try and to squeeze themselves back into the zone. Meanwhile, if you look over towards the players there from Lag, they're not bothering with any smokes. They're just hoping to try and play those ridge lines and potentially sneak up, trying to use a little bit of hard cover in the approach, but they're so close to that edge. And what's good for them is that the players here from C Esports are actually getting distracted with engagement coming in from Zero Tolerance.
Yeah, and they cannot be distracted right now. They've got to have that focus, because all these teams are looking to get their spot in zone and see if they're not careful, they might just crumble. But now Lag moving up on Zero Tolerance to try and assault from behind. One is getting taken down immediately. Zero Tolerance is having none of that, and they're going to take them out immediately. So that's Lag out of the picture. Now it's C Esports versus Zero Tolerance skills. And right now, this is looking pretty balanced. I don't see any of these teams necessarily being more in favor, except of course for the fact that C has the numbers advantage for the moment. But that could change as soon as Zero Tolerance spots out any of these players that are crawling around. So it's just a matter of time before we see somebody getting taken out.
Ooh.
Oh, that nade was brilliant. That's a lot of damage. That's huge for these guys. The shot's coming through the smoke. That actually might just be it. Zero tolerance down on their knees, and this is the end for them. C Esports in the driver's seat completely. The
Oh.
shots come through, aiming absolutely true, and that chicken dinner secured.
Wow.
No problem.
Well, Patchy, I should start putting money on this because man, I'm good at these guesses. But CE Sports stepping up, representing, finishing strong with not only the winner chicken dinner, but also 10 kills on board. I mean, the last time they played, they only got 4 kills and a second place. So what an upgrade that is coming through for the side of C Esports. Absolutely amazing stuff. And I'm pretty sure, of course, that the viewers back home from Ivory Coast should be really happy with the performance coming in from CE Sports. Zero tolerance, of course, finishing strong in that second position. But man, I am so chuffed with that performance from CE Sports.
I'm super excited to see that you also called it right from the get go. You did say you're looking out from the guys from CE Sports, and they did come through with the win that chicken dinner. That was such an exciting match. So many players cramped into the almost the final circle. It was so exciting to see. I was super worried about all the people that were going to be jumping down and diving and dropping and so. But you know, Patchy, is that what did you like the way that match went on?
You know, I actually have to say no to that. I don't think that we were seeing like 100% from all of the teams. And I think maybe that's just because of a little bit of complacency that's been set in because of the fact that we're ending the round at the moment. And some of the teams are really, really safe. And I mean, it makes sense because the teams don't want to expend themselves, you know, in a round where it's not necessary. You can see some of the teams haven't even sent all of their players in. So you could see that they are fine with their performance in the fact that they're going to be making it up to the next round, which does mean that we have a little bit of a discrepancy in how the expected performance usually goes. You know, if we had to take this match in isolation, it would have gone very, very differently if this was the one game that mattered out of everything. But of course, because it doesn't matter for some of those teams that are sitting at the top, they didn't perform as well. And so the scales were slightly tipped and we didn't see, you know, the full potential of all of these teams. With that said, though, I have to echo what DK was saying. Still some really good performances out of some of the teams. It's good to see CE Sports getting those points on the board and making some things happen for themselves. Definitely, it was nice to see that final fight between them and Zero Tolerance. I was actually expecting Zero Tolerance to maybe put up a little bit more. So yeah, it's good to see that the teams are still putting up a good fight.
All right, so we are waiting on the stats and the standings from that first map. As soon as we get that, we'll be putting it up on the screen for you guys to take a look at. But if you didn't miss, just in case you missed it, it was C Esports taking the winner chicken dinner. And DK, I want to know, like, what did you make from the performance of 4KT?
Well, we know Fugiti is a strong team, right? And it's not really surprising to see the way that they are able to carry themselves regardless of what the zone kind of throws their way, right? So even if you put them on only a two-man team, they could potentially still play that as if they had 3 or 4 players in. And now this is where we're going to have to kind of look and see, you know, if the points the teams have been able to acquire will be enough to ensure enough movement on the leaderboard.
Actually, talk us through the rest of the leaderboard and tell us what we're looking at right here.
Yeah, so of course, just to echo what you were saying, now CE Sports picking up that chicken dinner. As I mentioned, I was expecting Zero Tolerance to maybe put up a little bit more, but they still secured that second place. So not too bad from them. As you mentioned, 4KT, still a very strong team, but definitely not a 100% performance from them, which, is come to be expected for where we are in the current rounds at the moment. Comfy 6 were only able to put up 6 points. Most of the points were really starved out by like those top 3-4 teams. So, of course, as we move on to the second page, these teams not really picking up that many points. Aphelion Apex got 4, the rest of them a couple of points here and there, but not all that much. So, I mean, at least Comfy 6 got, 6 points off the back of that, but it's not enough to get themselves out of relegation right now. So they have 2 more games today, at least, to try and make this happen, to try and get themselves some points to secure their safety. They did a really good job. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, on putting on a really, really good performance there to get some good points and actually move themselves up. But they've still got a distance to go if they want to make that happen. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on them. And of course, that MVP coming out of Risks there from C Esports. 5 kills, 439 points of damage, 25 minutes survival time there. Definitely, obviously expected coming out of C Esports, who took that chicken dinner. So not a surprise to see them supporting the MVP for that match.
Well, we've just seen the MVP, an exciting first game of the day. We'll be back with more PUBG Mobile action right after this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the action that is the Umzansi Esports League. This is season 4 brought to you by Northern Gaming. My name is Dr. Sid here with Pachi and DK, and we've just witnessed C Esports come through with the winner with a chicken dinner in game 1. C Esports, obviously from the Ivory Coast, the Cote d'Ivoire. You understand? And we are showing the standings to show you exactly what went down. Zero tolerance skills coming close there, but not doing enough to see off C Esports, who saw the chicken dinner and took it. Lag Esports there from Mozambique doing well as well. 4KT from Nigeria did a quite impressive as well. But of course, we know they're on a higher part of the table, so they're not doing. They probably feel they don't need to do as much in these rounds to qualify for the next round. Are probably saving their strats. So I mean, we've seen Comfy 60, Immortalz, Rila inside out. Some of the teams on the higher parts of the overall leaderboard in this first page of the first map. Now, moving on to the second page, we have seen teams like Aphelion, Apex, which Patchy mentioned earlier on, have been showing a certain level of consistency when it comes to the games and keeping themselves in a good position to make it over to the next round. But our worry has to be for teams like Ultra 6, ATROX, Young Thundercats, Rain from Hell, and Toxic Esports. Also Fear, who haven't put up as many points on the board as we would like them to. Now, Influence Rage got only 3 points in that next map. Will that be enough to push them up the overall leaderboard? We'll wait and see. Now, DK, it is this next map, which we know is Sanhok. We've seen there's a lot of close quarter combat going on that map. What are we expecting? And do you think C Esports are going to see off all the contenders in this next map?
I think we'll continue to see Esports seeing another chicken potentially. Well, that's what I'm hoping for. If we look back, historically speaking, of course, they were able to find the chicken alongside 13 kills the last time that they played in this Group B versus C kind of mashup. So I'm hopeful to see that success comes through once again. But this is still going to be where the pressure is on. We did see now jumping into this match that the players from Comfy 6 were able actually to find a decent game, find an additional few points on board. But we're still kind of waiting for the players from Toxic, the side of Fear, as well as Ultra 6 to really step it up, because we know Fear finished off with only 1 point. Toxic came in with only 1 point. And of course, Ultra 6, they got that big fat bubble, as Maxman would say. So yeah, the pressure is going to be on and they're running out of options.
They need to not run out of options because we need action in this particular map. Ladies and gentlemen, Pachi, I'm going to ask you a question because I saw your eyebrow raised there when you said, see, you are going to continue seeing C Esports, seeing off all the contenders. And you were like, seashells on the seashore. Is this a SSS competition? What do you think is going to happen in this next map, my brother?
Well, it's C Esports, seeing the sea. I don't even want to see any of that, dude. Like, stop it. It's just absolutely, she sells seashells on the seashore. That's how it goes. We can move on with that. Nice and quick, right? Basically, what I'm actually focused on right now is the performance out of teams like we were talking about just now from, for instance, the Comfy 6, right? We saw them put 6 points on the board in map number 1, right? That still puts them below EXO redefined, which is the bar for the top of the relegation zone. In other words, they need to overcome EXO redefined and then the team right above them to actually get out of relegation. That means they need 6 more points. So that's doable. If they got 6 points in map number 1, they could probably get 6 points in map number 2. So they have the chance to actually bring themselves out of relegation. And then they still have a third map to play to get themselves further away as possible. So I've actually got my fingers crossed for Comfy 6. They can certainly make it out of relegation right now. They have the potential to create some distance between themselves and that particular zone. So that's really where my focus is at the moment, actually.
Oh, awesome. Well, we are about to focus on the game as we jump into the plane and we can see the players already flying out into Sanhok. My name is Dr. Sid, leaving you in very capable hands of DK and Patchy as we go into map 2 of the Umzansi Esports League. And you know, this is season 4.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sid. Thank you for welcoming us into map number 2. We're ready to get this match down. It is our CQC time, and hopefully that means action. Usually it doesn't, but one can always hope. Right now, of course, it is Sanhok, which is map number 2. and we're ready to get into it. I didn't see enough violence and death, DK, in map number one. I really didn't. And as we start out map number two, I'm hoping that our ratios of violence
Mm.
go up at least quite significantly.
Yeah, the death and destruction should hopefully be
Yeah.
dialed up a little bit more as we are on a map that really does lean even more towards that. And well, the players there from Rain from Hell Skull already getting quite destructive, but the team here now from C Esports. Ooh, here we go. Holding up in towards Paradise. It's not the exact Paradise that they'd be hoping for, but it is better than nothing. They got the team from Rain from Hell right here alongside them. Already 2 players knocked. Now the pressure is on. Will Wizard be able to make the magic happen? Get those sprays straight on through. Because Rain from Hell, their numbers are also starting to dwindle. You can see Skulls just holding there alongside Neon, kinda. But they do have another player with a bit of an off-angle play coming in as well. So this could be quite a bit of a treacherous play coming through. But we know the players from C Esports, they can hold their own. As we can see the utilities now getting sent across with that. Argus goes down. Wizard really looking to get that magic. But now Skull's last remaining player standing between C Esports and a little bit more comfortable looting phase. It's going to be tough. Skulls is right there. We've seen some strong plays come in from Skulls. I mean, he kicked off this game, but with that,
He's going to
Wizard.
be seeing skulls.
Yeah, that was some Wingardium Leviosa moves coming through right there.
Oh, yeah, Wingardium Leviosa, you back all the way into that lobby to watch from a distance as your peers continue to fight on this particular map. It looks like that zone's gone north again, so obviously it's fun of heading to the top of the map for some reason. It's, it just woke up on that side of the bed today. You know how the blue zone is. You know how the zone shifting is. The game, it likes to listen to you all the time and predict where it needs to go to really make your day extra annoying. As we see time and time again, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it isn't. It's reality, ladies and gentlemen. This blue zone can hear your thoughts, and it knows exactly how to make you as frustrated as possible. Of course, we're having a look and seeing a couple of teams on the south at the moment. You can see the Rila insides, you can see the Immortalz, and of course, Aphelion Apex that do need to make their way up. Luckily for them, it's still zone number one. They still have some time. There's setup to happen. What I'm seeing is 4KT chilling in boot camp, doing what they do, nice and sent. I mean, they're slap bang in the middle of the zone right there, and they don't have anyone knocking on their door. No one wants to contest at the moment. There is 7 AOK off to the side, but I mean, what are the chances that they come knocking on the door of 4KT?
Well, there is definitely a potential there, seeing that this whole kind of compound is very centralized within the zone. But I don't think that we're going to be seeing AOK looking to relinquish their hold that they've got right there on the intersection just yet, right? Because both positions we see 4KT as well as Seven Sins in, those are really strong compounds. And regardless of where the zone's going to go, I'm pretty sure they will still be in the next phase, right? But if we look to the rest of the teams that we have spread out across the map, I'm curious to see where the players from Rila Insider, the Immortalz, as well as Aphelion Apex are going to be looking to rotate in. Also now, Fear venturing a little bit closer to bootcamp, but Zero Tolerance right there hot on their heels. So this could be quite an interesting play coming through, depending, of course, on how exactly Fear look to play that kind of hilltop position.
Yeah, that is quite true. Putting themselves in a position where they could potentially catch out a couple of teams if the teams do decide to rotate faster. Like you mentioned, Zero Tolerance a little bit on their heels, so maybe some engagements going to be happening then. And as of course we know, 4KT, they are quite capable of hearing that gunfight, hearing the fight breaking out between any teams that decide to fight in the general vicinity, and then going and picking up some third parties and some kills off the back of those fights that they hear happening. So you got to be careful when you fight around a team like 4KT. So potentially a little bit of chaos to break out there, depending on how they decide to play it. Fear now continuing to move up. You can see Seven Sins AOK right up ahead of them. So definitely getting into the thick of things here on the mainland. The rest of the team sitting quite happily spread out across the rest of that map. Of course, we're just waiting for that blue zone to start moving in and start encouraging these teams a little bit closer together. Hopefully that gets them moving just a little bit more, because we've seen how important getting those points can be. We were talking about how some of those 30 bombs can really change the fate of a team, and some of those teams really need those kills. I mean, even if it's not a 30 bomb, just getting a couple of points, like we were talking about, I mentioned Comfy 6, they need 6 points to make it up into a safe spot. Obviously, they're going to want a whole lot more than that. So hopefully we see we see these teams picking up pace a little bit, because we're running out of games in in today's slot.
Yeah, we're definitely starting to run out of games, and we're starting to slowly also run out of time, as we have that first blue zone for phase one starting to close on up now. And of course, the players here from Zero Tolerance, they do have a little bit of company up ahead, that being the squad from Fear. But they don't have to show any fear just yet, as Fear is a little bit further away. So not any immediate threat to them just yet. As we can see, Outcast and Swags, of course, now looking to push even further up in towards that zone. And this looks deceptively close, but this is actually quite a bit of distance between these two teams.
Yeah, yeah, it is. There is some pretty big distances here. Actually, one of the interesting things about this map, we talk about CQC a lot, but actually the teams are really good at creating some long range angles here on this particular map. So we do see that coming in from time to time as well. 4KT is still just above boot camp, so they still have control of that region, nice and central in towards the zone. And the rest of the teams also kind of making their way in. You can see Influence up in towards the top. Got Lag as well as CE Sports, who did manage to take a very nice chicken dinner in game number one. Could potentially make something happen here. We know they are quite a capable team, so they might just be finding their way into those top slots again, depending on which teams actually decide to step up in game number two here. We look and seeing what that is right now. We can see a couple of those long-range engagements happening. It's Fear in the thick of it with Zero Tolerance. Their Outcast almost getting taken out from some of those shots coming his way, but they're going to stay alive for the time being, using those rocks and trees as cover. Just putting a few love taps, across to one another.
I mean, this is what we call a hilltop hustle, patching. Both teams positioned on lovely high ground, fighting across the valley, trying to get the spray down in. And of course, the players there from Seven Sins just holding a little bit further up in towards the north. But with that, Swags gets taken right on down as Vortex sends up that Vortex of Doom. And up ahead, Hulk and the rest of the team from Fear now looking to move in, potentially trying to get that res up in towards Swags. And this could still be a great escape for them. They do have this whole terrain ridge line right in front of them, but they need to act quickly, as we can see the players there from Zero Tolerance now starting to move in. But I'm quite curious to see what Seven Sins are going to be doing, because they've just been parked off on that kind of intersection, just holding their own, waiting to see if anyone's going to venture up. And that's almost like a Venus flytrap.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully they get some flyers flying in there. Otherwise, it's going to be very bare and dusty for them. No points to be seen in sight. So hopefully they can spring their trap sometime soon. As you mentioned, they are just lying in wait, waiting for the prey to slowly buzz past. For now, we've got Zero Tolerance still up here against Fear. They're doing their little dance here on top of these hills. Just waiting to see who is going to be the first to fall, because right now it's just that long range war, that slow paced, see who can actually land some shots, get that damage in, who has enough meds to keep themselves alive. That blue zone has, of course, made its way in just a little bit, and we are seeing quite a few teams moving from that south, also now congregating up towards the middle. They know once that zone shifts, it could potentially be a little dangerous. We're looking at Toxic up here with ATROX and the Young Thundercats right up there in towards the northwest, so they might just be getting into a little bit of a tussle there, potentially. Hopefully we see a little bit of fighting there. I'm interested to see where the next zone does drop, because once it starts picking up the pace here on Sanhok, things definitely start rolling down the hill pretty quickly.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a downhill engagement for a few of these teams. But now that zone just slowly shifting up, but once again over towards the northeastern side. So a very comfortable phase for the players here from 4KT, Seven Sins, as well as the players there from Zero Tolerance, who we see not having to venture too far away from where they've already been established. But I'm curious to see the teams a little bit further down to the south, how they're going to look to move in, because they still need to try and cover that ground, secure a decent position within the zone. So the pressure could be on. But now as we look back over on towards Paradise, we can see the players from CE Sports holding on. We actually have the squad there from INF rolling in from the north. They haven't found them just yet. Ooh, but with that, Scald is going at it once again, finding a little bit of a spray down over on towards 4KT. I believe that was in the kill feed. But now with 14 teams remaining, we are in our second phase. There's still a minute or so remaining on the clock before that zone pops up once again. But the pressure is going to be on as Aimer and Pronto now look to just strengthen the position here. We, of course, can see Pronto trying to tend to his wounded teammate. With that, Mr. Rogi and Unknown get eliminated. 13 teams now remain as Toxic bite the dust, Batchy.
Yeah, they bite the dust and take us down to 13 teams. So thankfully, we've seen some good engagements here so far. 4KT nursing themselves back up to health as they face down a couple of players right up ahead of them. So an AOK, of course, right here to contend. We've got Influence who have moved up into this position here around the shrine. So yeah, we've seen some good fights, but we want more. We want more. I'm sitting here waiting for more because that's what this game promises us. That's what Sanhok promises us. And I want to see if these teams have what it takes to get themselves out. You know, my eyes are still looking towards those teams that desperately need points to get out of relegation, because that's really what the story is going to be about as we move forward through the rest of the round. So having a look at that map, you can see the teams moving in from the west. The Young Thunder rolling past Lag. We've got ATROX making that long way around from the north. Teams moving up from the south as well. We've got Aphelion Apex, who came in second place, but yeah, I want to see a little bit more coming out of them specifically. We could see the aforementioned Comfy 6 off towards the east, making their way up and around into some open area there, potentially just keeping themselves out of trouble for the time being. It could certainly do with as many points as they can, so squeezing through a few placements definitely won't do any harm on that front. Young Thunder is making the rotation away from most of Lag. You can see Fantasy just probing this particular direction, and they decide, you know, we're going to hop in the vehicles and keep ourselves sparse in this particular area, not looking for any trouble just yet. Fantasy, seeing if you can possibly pop a couple of shots across, but Fantasy isn't able to catch those players as they rotate away, so they will live to see another zone here. Lag not picking up any of those kills for the time being. A Young Thunder actually now getting themselves in the kill feed. There's Sully putting a few shots in, and now the teams are getting right up in one another's grill here. And, well, some fly swatting is about to happen.
Yeah, some fly swatting, some squad wipes could potentially start coming on through. And ooh, wow, that was a really tough spot. You see, that's why Romeo went down, because he wasn't on a balcony, Batchy. We saw that great play come in from Romeo because he was positioned on a balcony in the previous match. It makes 100% sense. Now, Snake Eyes, of course, finds himself in his element right here on Erangel, but he's taking quite a few shots, quickly managing to get up behind some hard cover. But he's got to be careful, because not only does he need to worry about the side of INF moving in, he also needs to keep a very watchful eye on Lag. And with that, yep, Lag swoop in and sends old Mr. Snake Eyes right back into the lobby. So now only 12 teams remain. Center zone is going to be a little bit of a fight, as we can see the players there from INF still hanging around that whole paradise kind of position. But C Esports, they've also, we saw them drop in there. We did see, of course, that engagement come through in the early game, but they haven't moved an inch. They've also not had any need to really start moving out just yet.
Yeah, certainly not. I mean, they're still in a pretty decent position right now. All the teams moving in from the south are certainly going to be feeling the heat, as we've got 4KT, 7 AOK, and a couple of other teams in that potential location there. So you can already see some shots flying in between 4KT and 7 AOK. Aimer looking to deplete some of those HP bars and put on the pressure now as we move in from Zone 3 towards Zone 4. We're still 12 teams strong. We've got 44 players here on the map, so still plenty of numbers for a lot of these teams. You can see Fear right here opposite both the team there from C and, of course, from Influence Rage there. So right off the bat, we've got another little triangle developing here, so potential fights to break out in the near future. I'm certainly hoping they do. Hulk leading the charge there from Fear as they move in towards both Risks and Wizard, who are both next to one another here in this compound, but they're right next to Influence Rage, so this could potentially be a little bit of a tough play if they commit to this fight.
Yeah, it could definitely be quite a tough one to do. But so far, I mean, Fear, they're doing a good job of sneaking in towards Paradise. So far, they've, of course, been able to remain undiscovered Well, I couldn't find the right English for that one, but whatever. Here we are. Uh, I went for. I probably think it's unseen, right? That's probably the word I was actually looking for. But I'm liking this little bit of a anchor kind of position coming in there from Nico, just waiting around, trying to see if anyone could potentially be venturing in. But I mean, the players there from CE Sports, they just playing this one so chill, so relaxed. They know that they've had success on Sanhok before, and they're not going to be looking to do anything foolish just yet. Should the opportunity arise and they are kind of forced to react, I'm pretty sure that they will. But for the time being, they can just afford to kind of stay there and just wait things out. But a Hulk, he's looking to smash a few things as he's making his way through, just exploring, looking to see if anyone's going to look to take any engagement. Could potentially even see him running right up alongside Risk and Wizard. But we still have the players there from Influence Rage holding up towards that northwestern side. I mean, we're about to move into our fourth phase, right? This is only going to be 12 teams, 44 players, and this is Sanhok. I mean, it's not one of our biggest maps, so these zones are actually so tiny in relation to what we kind of see on these other maps. But I'm curious to see where this chaos is going to break out, because we do hear a few shots, of course, in the background, but we're not having any major engagements happen just yet. So I'm expecting that to happen potentially moving into the fourth phase, or maybe even that fifth phase.
Yeah, hopefully we see it starting soon. I mean, Hulk, he likes to say he's a player who likes to spearhead these attacks and does really well for Fear to actually go out and find what other teams and players are actually getting up to. And he just needs to push out a little bit further to find those teams up ahead of them. Of course, we can see Risks and Wizard both, isolated up just ahead of them. So there's a potential fight waiting to happen. Of course, as that zone has shifted up north, we're going to see the rotations come in super quickly out of Influence Rage. A good decision for them, but they're going to be moving straight up into ATROX. So they've picked quite a position to rotate up into, and straight off the bat, Sully going to hit the deck, is dead, laying down the shots, and now things are not turning out as they expected. Hainsley going to hit the deck next. ATROX successfully defending this position. Influence, what a misstep coming out of them. They did not expect that team to be in that location, and they are absolutely being punished for it right now.
Oh, yeah, well, the same can be said for the players here from Fear. We just saw them run up alongside the team here from C, so Risk jumping at the opportunity. But hey, I mean, that is the difficulty of rotations, Patchy. If you don't send a scout out, things like this can definitely happen. And now the team here from C Esports, they're also playing this one so well, as we see Wizard, of course, finding the knock on it towards Hulk there. And now the pressure is on for Chris, but he is right up ahead of Risk. Risk has already spotted him. This could be some easy claps coming straight on through, and that is exactly what we see happen as CE Sports just swoop on through, find a few more confirms, but the pressure is on because up comes the Immortalz, ready to push straight on in towards Paradise. We still have Chris and Swags holding on for the side of Fear, but right behind them, Dumpy 6 looking to move in.
Yeah, a huge mistake from Fear not to send Hulk out. You know, he didn't get that scout going and he didn't pick up the positions of those two C players. And because of that, they got punished with that zone rotation. All of their players getting taken down. I think they're sitting on 2 players at the moment. And the same can be said for Influence Rage. Like you mentioned, no scout out. They just made a very quick impulsive rotate. They got absolutely punished for it. Now, of course, as you mentioned, the Immortalz moving up on this position, putting even more pressure on Fear, who already suffered some massive defeats, heavy losses. Chris already taken 50% of his HP and damage here as he goes up against Immortalz. And both of CE Sports' players who've been here from the beginning of this engagement are still alive. They're still here. They're still kicking. And they've got a good position, and they're obviously capable of defending it. So yeah, some big missteps from these teams already, just in this one zone shift alone, and certainly that is going to come back to bite them in a big way as the teams all start to rotate up from the south and put their best foot forward. A nice nade coming out of Chris to blow MFP out of the water, and we're moving from zone 4 to zone 5 very quickly. So these teams are going to find themselves in the deep end very soon.
Yeah, but I mean, this position that we see here for CE Sports, this is actually a really strong spot to be in, because the teams on the outlying region or outlying area rather can just go about their business, kind of just take each other out, and that is exactly what we see happening now as 4KT also step up to join the party. Fear, as well as the players from Zero Tolerance, still holding just up ahead of them. But the players coming in from the side of CE Sports, they just chilling there. They just waiting. They're like, all right, you guys fight. We'll just clean it up afterwards. And now Pronto trying to put down a bit of a grenade. He's the last remaining hopeful for his team. Vortex also now looking to push in. Ooh. You see Mortal just behind there as well. The pressure is going to be on. Will we see 4KT be able to get out of this tough position? But this is going to be such an interesting rotation as we've got so many teams holding up in towards Paradise, but the zone shifting just north of it. So they have no choice. They have to get out of here. So I'm curious to see who's going to be looking to set themselves up on the edge of that zone and set up a bit of a gatekeep, because we've got Lag also holding not too far away. The players there from Comfy 6 also being quite attentive to this region. We've got Aphelion Apex, Lag off in the distance. We got INF, we've got Rila Insider, everyone just holding up in the vicinity. And ATROX also now starting to push down from the north.
Yeah, absolute chaos sandwiched down in the south. Look at all those teams. I mean, this has proven to be one heck of a bottleneck for these teams moving up. You can see Lag straight past Aphelion Apex. They have to get themselves across that line, but everyone is suffering the consequences of this rotation. Everyone is suffering because of this bottleneck, the cloggage in the system right now. Lag pushing up on Aphelion Apex, but all of them going to find themselves immersed in the blue zone very, very swiftly. See Esports suffering so much damage from Chris, who has caught them out. They weren't expecting this angle, and now they're going to pay the price for it as well, as Fear now moving up from the side over the walls. Very low HPs for both of the C Esports players, and Swags and Chris are going to now challenge the angles. Kage goes down, and there the shots. Easy peasy for them, but of course the blue zone now washing up makes things even more difficult. Lag Esports trying to make it ahead of the blue. Everyone trying to run away, but they're going to get caught out time and time again. You can see those shots absolutely flying. Of course, the play zone doing what it does best and just consuming player after player that has the insolence of getting caught out in those dark tendrils of death. But now we're taking down to 9 teams and 19 players here as the chaos continues, as these teams struggle to try and keep themselves alive.
And now the pressure's on. I mean, Pronto, he's still managing to stay alive. But meanwhile, the players from Fear up ahead will get eliminated as Lag comes rushing in. Only getting one kind of casualty over towards them. Safwan getting sent back into the lobby. We see 1-9 already starting to push a little bit closer to that roadside. Meanwhile, ATROX find themselves coming under a bit of fire as the utilities get sent in their direction. INF looking to blaze on through, but a really good spread actually coming in from INF as well as Rila Insiders. They make their way on through, pushing and applying the pressure. We do see the players there from Seven Sins also getting obliterated with that. Down goes Pronto, down goes Mr. Vortex there from Zero Tolerance, and we are now left with only 4 remaining teams. Rila Insider pushing up from that northeastern side, Atrox in the north, and then of course the players of Lag rotating up from Paradise, moving in from that southern edge.
Yeah, and as the dust settles off the back of that chaos, here we are, suddenly 4 teams alive. ATROX having managed to make their way up here on top of this hill. We've got Lag, and as you mentioned, the Insiders and Influence Rage, so we'll have a look and see if these guys can make it happen. Trip getting taken down in the meantime. ATROX looking like they have a pretty good position here, finding some angles there in towards those teams in the area, so having a look and seeing if he can land a few more of those shots, but he has to be careful. There are teams looking to challenge, and with that blue zone starting to roll on in just 25 seconds, things are going to heat up once again. These teams are running out of time. They've got to find something. They've got to challenge. They've got to make something happen here, and it comes with kills. There's nothing else that these guys can do. They're running out of cover. They're running out of space. It has to come down to those kills. Nico going to be the first one to hit the deck. There's Zero putting in some good shots, and up come the squad there from Lag into the zone. They're trying to claim as much of that territory as possible, as the Insiders are now moving in to try and take out the team from ATROX. Soho is here to try and defend all this push, but I'm not sure if he can make it happen. J-Roll are going to find those shots. Zeke also trying to move on up, but he's going to take some damage as well. ATROX trying to defend this push, but is it going to be enough to fend off the Insiders for the time being? The answer is no. They do make it up, but Insiders now getting capitalized on immediately, just instantly taken out. Lag know that they have won this already. They're taking full advantage of the situation. They've got the numbers, they've got the angles, and they've got the momentum in their favor as well. Very nicely played from them. They knew exactly when to pull that trigger, and that's basically a secure for them.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, it's no surprise to see this kind of chaos just erupt on screen, right? The only strong positions there really was in the zone was the regions outside of the zone. The zone itself just presented the teams with so many harsh kind of plays to try and bring it through. And good on the side of lag here. They were able to secure the kind of good spots that was in that zone, and they just leveraged that. They swooped in while the players from ATROX and Rila Insider were busy fighting it out up in that northern kind of play. And well, fortunately for them, of course, Rowe was able to stay out of harm's way, but now comes the play. Not quite sure if he'll be able to land any of these shots, but he is going to go down right now. And with that, of course, the players from Lag experience zero lag as they make their way straight up towards that winner chicken dinner. And with that, of course, finishing strong on 11 kills. So beautiful performance coming in there from them. And that last play they made in zone just worked out so favorably for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely did. And they came away with quite a number of kill points in their pocket as well. So they're going to be quite happy about that. Lag, of course, not being in the best position now, elevating themselves a little bit further up the leaderboard and keeping with their safety. I think this team has also now secured their safety for the round, basically. The real question is just moving back down to those teams towards the bottom of the leaderboard. Have they done enough is the question. But of course, we will be finding out very shortly.
Yeah. Another winner, chicken dinner, another beautiful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot wait to see the standings. I'm super excited. It's like this game just keeps on giving. It's a gift that keeps on giving. You know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? The Umzansi Esports League is giving us life. Are you feeling it? I'm a little bit animated, aren't I? Yeah, I'm just having a bit too much fun because listen, watching this particular Sanhok map was quite intense for me. It was literally very similar to Erangel, but everybody just the way the room was at 14 and then dropped to 6 was amazing. And I can't wait to see what the leaderboard looks like or the standings of this particular map because some teams were very impressed. Who impressed you a lot in that match, Patchy?
I think probably Lag. I think they made it up into to top 3 at the very least, which was very nice to see from them. I think they're a little bit underrated. We've seen them hovering around, and they've definitely given us some good potential and some good showing. So I want to see a little bit more out of them. So it's good to see them sort of hovering around the top, getting some top 3 finishes there for themselves. And I definitely expect, I mean, I have huge expectations for these teams moving into round number 2. So you're going to hear me yagger on about this for quite a lot in round number 2. But for now, it's just good to see that the teams, the teams that we want to see are still capable. They do shine every now and then, even though they're not giving us their full 100% right now. They have those shiny moments, which is good to see.
Talking about shiny moments, who had a shiny moment for you, DK?
I gotta echo what Patchy said. For me, it was Lag Esports. They just played that one exceptionally well. Unfortunately, the players from C Esports, it wasn't what we saw come from them last week, but it was good consistency and strong play coming in from the side of Lag Esports, because last week they finished in 3rd place with 13 kills. Today they finished with a winner chicken dinner and of course 11 kills on board. So that is an absolutely phenomenal improvement. But we also see the players from Rila Insider also stepping up their gameplay. Last time they finished in 6th place and they had a little bit of a tougher game. This time around, of course, the PUBG gods were smiling down on them and granting them a little bit of an easier approach into this match, enabling them to finish strong on 16 points. And of course, that 2nd place in ATROX taking 3rd with 15 points in total.
Yeah, I don't know about this, DK. I'm seeing too many familiar names on page number 1. I'm seeing the 4KTs, the 7 AOKs, the C, Zero Tolerance, Influence Rage, Rilla Insiders, Lag. These guys, we know they can put the points on the board. The teams that I'm needing to see up there are not there. We see Comfy 6 taking away 2 points. They needed 6 to try and get themselves out of relegation. That means they're down from 6 down to 4, which means they need to put 4 points at least to try and get themselves out there. I don't think it's going to be enough, man. I really think that these guys need to jack up performance just a little bit more, because these names that as we go down the list, we're looking at teams like Immortalz, Toxic, Ultra 6, even Fear. These guys need the points, and it's just not happening for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tough one. Yeah, I've said, and I mean, take it away. No lag.
one night with 5 kills, 492 damage. Survival time of 24 minutes and 48 seconds to take the MVP of game 2. That has been the second map for the day. We've got one more to go, which is Miramar. My name is Dr. Sid, here with Pachi and DK, and we will be right back after this break because the PUBG Mobile action continues right here on the Umzansi Esports League. You know, this is Season 4. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're having fun. This is the final map of the day. It is Miramar. My name is Dr. Sid here with Patchy and DK, and this is the Umzansi Esports League. You know it is season 4. We are ready and going to have some amazing action on the final map of the day. But first, let's take a quick look at the standings for the last map.
Well, let's take a quick peek at what we saw there from game number 5. Of course, we saw Lag Esports taking that chicken dinner, as I mentioned just before we hit the break. Good to see them making their way up to the top, still giving us that shine that we know they can produce. No surprise that Rila Inside is also finding their way up in the top 3. Was a little bit more of a surprise to see ATROX putting some points on, but they are moving themselves up the board as well, so good to see them there. But one of the things that I mentioned, and I'm going to echo the same thing again here, I'm seeing all these familiar faces, all these familiar teams that we already know can perform. You know, we've seen 4KT, we've seen Seven Sins AOK, CE Sports, Zero Tolerance, Influence Rage, all of these teams. We know they can make these points happen. We know they can keep it up. The questions that we were asking you, can we see these other teams making their way out of relegation? Can we see teams like Comfy 6? Can we see teams like Toxic? Can we see these teams get the points that they need to move away from their relegation position? Fear Esports, Comfy 6, we're looking at Immortalz, we're looking at Ultra 6. These guys need to make their way out. These guys need points. These teams need to get on that point game ASAP. They missed game 1 and game 2 to make it happen. Comfy 6 did put a couple of points on the board, 6 points to get themselves a little, but they needed 6 more points and they were only able to get 2 out of that game. They need 4 more points, and I mean, you need a lot more than that to secure your place outside of relegation, because you already know that some of those other teams are going to be moving around. They're going to be putting points on the board. So you've got to get yourself away from relegation. You've got to sprint as far as you can away from relegation, because it's coming. It's nipping at your heels. And right now, I mean, I'm my eyes are like glued on the position of Comfy 6 on that overall leaderboard. Like, they need the points. And I mean, I know they can get it. We've seen them put some good points on the board before. I mean, we saw a 16-point game the other week from them that moved them up really nicely. They need something like that again, because otherwise they're going to find themselves in a very tough position.
So, Patrick, who do you think is going to be sprinting towards some major points on this final? Sorry, DK, that was for you. Who do you think is going to be sprinting towards some major points in this final map?
I have to echo what Patchy said. I have to go here with Comfy 6. I mean, they are the team that we see sitting at that kind of bottom slot in the leaderboard. But they've been showing great potential in the first 2 games. Yeah, they haven't been bringing in the most insane amount of points, but they've been showing that they are willing to put in the effort to try and get there. So I'm quite hopeful seeing what they'll be able to bring into this last match of the day.
Okay, we're just hoping that they don't get too comfy in that position, because they need to be comfy somewhere else, which is in the position to be in the next round of the game. Now the map is about to start, and personally for me, I'm wondering. Well, I know why the guys like Sanhok AT are just literally chilling, but what's happening to the likes of Toxic Esports? I would like to see them come up and give these guys a run for their money, make that final page look, the third page panic a little bit when we get more games for the rest of the weekend. So, up next is Miramar. Of these teams, DK, which one of these teams in the past has shown that they do well on this particular map?
Well, if we look back to what we had previously, of course, this is the match in which we saw Zero Tolerance and Fear actually stepping up. But the Immortalz, surprisingly enough, brought in an 11-kill game the last time they were on Miramar. So it's going to be quite exciting, because Zero Tolerance and Fear both had a 9-kill match, finishing in pole position and second, with the Immortalz taking that 3rd slot. So yeah, it could be quite an exciting day. But Lag also, they finished strong on 7 kills. So who knows? Maybe we see Lag stepping up once again and just bringing in another surprise performance. It's going to be so difficult, but I'm hopeful to see a little bit of consistency rather coming in from those teams, because Zero Tolerance, they've been trying today. They haven't succeeded all that much just yet, but maybe Miramar's the match.
Maybe. And we also know that Fear actually do need those points as well to move up the leaderboard and secure their position in the next round. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you straight for a fact that we're about to go into Miramar, and the action is about to start. My name is Dr. Sid, leaving you in the very capable hands of Patchy and DK as they talk through all the action. I will see you after our final map.
Let's go. Thank you, Dr. Sid. Map number 3. It is Miramar. The long range engagements will come through, and hopefully, we will see some teams thrive inside of it. I think this is a good opportunity for the likes of the Comfy Six to make it happen. So, yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see. We'll have to have a look and see what's going on the map. We've got a very nice south to north flight path there. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what that zone does look like, which will be dropping very, very soon. But with that spacing, I do think that these teams will find it quite comfy nonetheless. We'll just have a look and see if any of those hot drops come through. We did see a couple of those in the previous weeks, but like we've been echoing pretty much all day so far, not all of the teams are really just giving it their all. They're not going in straight for all of the craziness. So I doubt we'll see anything too spicy, anything too risky out of some of those top teams. But I'm hoping that kind of fact, the fact that we're not going to see teams like 4KT go for something super crazy, go for a hot drop, go hunting, I feel like that maybe opens up a little bit of space for teams like Fear, for teams like Comfy Six, for teams like Toxic to maybe get a few more points than usual.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the opportunity for teams that are lacking with regards to points to step up, seeing that, like, exactly as you've pointed out, now the teams sitting high up on the leaderboard, they're not so interested in playing super aggressively, right? So this could be that time where we could see the teams actually move in, like Fear, for instance, to swoop in, find a decent, strong performance. We know they have the ability to do that. I mean, 9 kills on Miramar in this exact lobby, that's pretty good. By any measure, that is a really decent performance, a really decent amount of points to bring in. The same I can say, of course, for the Immortalz, 11 kills. So we know these teams have the ability to bring in those points. It's just whether or not these teams decide that this is the match in which they do that.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to that. If these teams are going to decide to make it happen, have they had their daily dose of "we can do this"? Have they had their necessary "never give up" speech from our boys there on the anime side? It's you gotta get your daily never give ups. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Yeah.
gotta get it. You just gotta get it. So it's good for that mindset, and that's what allows you to turn your mindset into your grind set, boys.
I mean, if all else fails, and like you've got a day in which you feel like $1 million, right? Record something for yourself, and then in days where you feel like, like 3 cents, just play that back, and hype yourself up, because I mean, you could definitely benefit off of that. And I mean, who knows? Anything could happen. And what I'm curious to see now is what's going to happen, because Rain, again, second time in a row, find themselves in an early engagement. This time, they've decided to, bash it out with the players from Aphelion Apex. Now, we know that the players from Rain from Hell, they've also been putting in quite a bit of effort. They constantly find themselves in all these engagements. Of course, currently sitting down in 22nd place, so they are potentially safe moving up towards that next phase. But they are going up against the side of Aphelion Apex, who are almost double the amount of points ahead of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So straight off the bat, we've got some teams rolling up. Old Boy has found himself in a very difficult spot here. Sicko looking to just slam dunk him out of existence here with some nades popped in through the window. Neon juicing himself back up to potentially go in for assistance. But right now, because of the fact that he is outside of that building, he's maybe leaving his teammate down to a little bit of exposure here to fit an Apex if they do decide to push up. Sicko, of course, looking for something up here in the building and did not decide to push all the way through. So Older Boy is going to be able to get his health back up and ready to re-engage pretty soon. It looks like Aphelion Apex is at a bit of a disadvantage here in terms of the fact that only 2 of their players are right up here. Old Boy making a little bit of a push in towards the building to see what he can see, and he might just find Sicko right up ahead of him. So good to see that the pressure is building here, at least a couple of places across the map.
But that is what we like to see, especially on a map like Miramar.
Yeah.
It's much bigger. It usually kind of tends to be a bit of a slower map, so it's good if the teams are able to speed things up. But this is going to be a tough play for Aphelion Apex. As you pointed out, we only have 2 players here, and I'm curious to see at what point the rest of the squad is going to look to pull up, because they still have Rusty. We know Jassa has already gotten eliminated. We can see Rusty off in the distance, but is he going to look to rejoin back and fortify this position with the rest of his team? Because currently they're going up against Rain from Hell. Yes, Rain from Hell has taken quite a bit of damage, but they still have all 4 players, so they still have 4 guns that can point in any which direction.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And of course, Rain from Hell, they also need to secure a few kills. I mean, we haven't really been talking about them because they're not on that last page, but they're also kind of at risk here, and any points would do them good to at least just bridge the gap, or should I say enlarge the gap, enlarge the distance between them and that relegation. So they are actually also a team that does need some points. So Rain from Hell certainly can benefit from this fight here if they manage to win it. Aphelion Apex, of course, very a lot higher on the leaderboard than Rain from Hell at the moment. So if Rain from Hell can take some wins here, even if it's a couple of kills, that's going to be huge for them, just to get some extra points on the board and create a little bit of space. Because right now this could still swing either way. The teams haven't fully committed, but both Old Boy and Neon are up here, so they could potentially take this fight against Kage and Sicko. And if they win it, that's going to be really, really big for this team. So right now, that is exactly what they need to look for. And it looks like Neon is looking for the angle, spotted out Sicko's position. So he knows that player is hovering around in that area. The question is, can they find that foot in the doorway? Can they find something that's going to give them that go signal to actually push on and maybe take some of these kills? Because right now, Aphelion Apex is kind of separated, and you can see Rain from Hell has driven a little bit of a wedge between them. I mean, look at that. They've got a player right in between the 2-2 split here from Aphelion Apex.
Yeah, I mean, I like Rain from Hell, they've got the advantage here, They should just now look to leverage it. I'm not quite sure whether they are aware that they've got the advantage, but regardless, they should just look to play. We see a few objects now starting to fly across. Jin and Rusty holding off over on towards that lovely southwestern side. But this is the opportunity, as you've been saying, for Neon and Old Boy to move in, apply the pressure on towards Sicko, because they also still have another teammate positioned towards the north. So they could pull a little bit of a pincer maneuver onto the side of the Aphelion Apex while they have Rusty all the way at the back.
Yeah, as long as Jin is keeping the attention of Rusty divided, he's not going to be able to rotate past and actually go and assist his team. So, yeah, I mean, this is the best moment they've got. If they let this opportunity pass, it might be difficult to re-engage depending on what happens. We've got the blue zone slowly moving in, so it is creeping up, and we are going to find ourselves in a new zone relatively shortly. So, which is not a guarantee for these teams that they're going to be inside it, which is always a little bit uncomfortable if you get caught out in the blue for a prolonged engagement. So that's definitely not what they want to happen right now. And Jin is actually taking a good engagement here with Rusty. Rusty very much down on HP, has to juice himself back up, use his bandages to try and keep himself in this fight. So Jin is keeping this guy busy. He's keeping Rusty busy. And that's going to make things a lot easier for the rest of Rain from Hell. But they have to take the opportunity. They can't let this one go by. Neon has to push up here towards Sicko, which looks like he is doing. But he has to find the engagement. He's got to find those shots. And right now, he's getting some elevation to potentially spring this trap. Old Boy in the back line has not pushed any more forward. So right now, they just have to spring this trap, DK. They're not. It doesn't look like they're confident enough to make that final push.
I mean, they've got such a beautiful position. I'm curious to see, though, at what point will we see Skulls moving in? Because we've seen a strong performance from Skulls. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. Maybe he was just, making a toasted sandwich or something while waiting for the action to happen. But he eventually decided that now is a good time to get back and re-engage into this positional play. And I'm not quite sure if the team was maybe just waiting for him to finish up with a toasted sandwich. But
yeah,
he's getting ready to move in, and I'm hoping that this is now the time that we see Rain from Hell strike down on Aphelion Apex, because they've got the advantage. They should be winning this.
Yeah, absolutely. They just had to wait for Skulls to, wipe the grease from that sandwich off of his fingers there, get himself ready, put his thumbs on that phone and get going, because right up here with Sicko and Kage is now Skulls and the rest of Rain from Hell that's been up here. We've got the positioning, and now they just need the confidence to spring this trap. Come on, Rain from Hell, pull that trigger. Let's go. You've got the perfect position. You've got them surrounded. Let's get it going. The Molotov comes out. That's a weird way of pronouncing Molotov. And Kage and Sikona found themselves pinched between these three players, and yet still, we do not see this fight breaking out. They're still waiting. They're still cautious and taking their time. Could come back to bite them. In the meantime, we have a fight going on in that kill feed as well, so Nico is going to get taken down there in the kill feed. So some shots are coming through for the rest of these squads across the map, but this trap just hasn't been sprung, DK. They still haven't gone for it. Rain from Hell need to pull this trigger. Otherwise, Aphelion Apex is just going to sit there. They're going to wait, and they're inside the zone still. I honestly cannot fathom why this fight hasn't happened yet, DK.
Yeah, okay, there we go. 10 minutes later, here we are. The fight breaks out. The shots come through. Now it is up to Siko, who's vaulted out the window, looking to push back in. Oh, down goes Neon, down goes Siko. And now everything is riding, of course, on the last remaining player, who we saw off in the distance there, Mr. Rusty. But I'm not sure if he's maybe just a little bit rusty, just holding up alongside the truck here. He has a bit of a line of sight ontowards Jin, but up comes Skull now. I'm hoping that Jin is conveying the information across over towards his teammates as they are getting ready to move on through. Rusty lying in wait up ahead. Ooh, the pressure is on. Will we see a clutch play come through from Rusty? Because, I mean, this engagement took quite some time to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
And that is putting it nicely. We're 11 minutes in, and finally we saw some action. But now the pressure is on as Rusty is making a hasty retreat, just heading to the hills. But I'm hoping that this is now the moment in which we see Rain from Hell reposition and get themselves a little bit further up in towards that zone. As we can see, quite a few teams already starting to converge in towards Hacienda del Patron and the whole San Martin kind of region. But I think once this next zone starts shifting up, that is where this map could take a turn for the little bit more interesting, right? Because currently we do see a lot of passive positioning coming through. The team's not looking too aggressive just yet. But I'm hoping with the next zone shift coming through that, you know, the teams are then kind of forced to get down to business. As Safwan already steps up, he's trying to put the shots in. It is quite difficult to hit a moving vehicle, but he's still going to try.
Yeah, try again. And if you miss, just try one more time and see what happens. We do have that zone shifting once again, and it actually goes all the way down to San Martin there. So we've got some fun times ahead, ladies and gentlemen. 7 AOK up there with Fear and Toxic to sit in the middle of that zone at the moment. Some big rotations have to come through for the likes of C, for the likes of Zero Tolerance and Rain from Hell. Good to see that fight finally happened there between Rain from Hell and Aphelion Apex there. We knew the outcome already when we saw what was going on. We knew that Rain from Hell was going to win that one. They just had to, play the chess game. The pieces were already on the board. They just had to make it happen, and finally it did. And so we saw the end result of that. So at least they were able to come through for us in the end and get us that win that we expected in that particular situation. We see Skido doing what he does and plugging himself into oblivion. We see a couple of teams that still need to make their way across, but they've got a little bit of time to make it happen. What I'm seeing is a nice congregation of teams in that zone as it gets smaller and smaller. There's still a pretty decent distance inside that zone. As we know, Miramar, quite a spacious map, but now that those gaps are closing bit by bit, hopefully we start to see those shots coming through. We know how far you can shoot on this map. The long ranges are absolutely nuts. The Mini 14s go crazy on this map. Hopefully we see the teams busting those out. You can already see that there's the intent to kill, but we need some killing to happen, DK, because we still have 15 teams and 51 players here on this map.
I'm curious to see what the players from Seven Sins are going to be doing, right? They have themselves in a beautiful position over on towards that western side. Meanwhile, the players here from INF find themselves in a very exposed position, kind of torn between Rila Insider and the players coming in from Fear. But of course, Mercury steps up, puts the first spray down through. King, meanwhile, will be tending to his teammates as INF now double the efforts, looking to push in. Hainsley, quite relentless in his push through that building. But Mercury, we can't say the same. And now, the tables have turned. And Fear just really coming with a good comeback onto the players here. As INF get well, reduced one by one. It is up to Hainsley. And yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing any crazy plays coming from Hainsley just yet. It wouldn't make sense to, it's such a tough spot to be in. I'd much rather be looking to get into a more secure kind of area to play from, to look for those positional plays, those placement points a little bit further down the line. But it does seem like Hainsley is going to try his luck and tempt fate, push on towards the players here from Fear. But he has a few vehicles at his disposal that he could actually use and make a grand escape.
Yeah, he knew those HPs were low. He went for the nades, but he didn't land any of them, unfortunately. So it is just going to fall flat in terms of that plan. But you're absolutely right. He's got those vehicles for a potential getaway, but has not decided to. Instead, he's decided to stick around and try and capitalize on this, get a little third-party action going, putting some damage in towards Fear as they push in through. And that could potentially just throw the balance of this fight a little bit off here. As they come through, look at those nades just flying in. They know he's there. They know they've got to strangle him out of this position. But can they do it? Hainsley very low on HP. He's going to be juicing himself back up. He has decided to stick around for whatever reason. Maybe he's making a dash. No, not making a dash for the buggy, even though that's probably what he should be doing right about now. I think he knows his fate is sealed regardless. I mean, if he continues this fight, there's no ways he can 1v3 this. Surely not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even with Rila Insider coming in from the north and Snake Eyes running himself over. But yeah, no surprise.
Yeah.
No surprise. Fear come in. They clean it up. I mean, this is... I don't know. I was expecting them to... Hainsley, at least, to grab a vehicle, rotate back into zone. Because, I mean, even though they're on the edge of zone, there's still, a few options. You can go into hiding or whatever, just ensure the team gets even more points on the board. But, well, it is what it is. We do see the players there from CE Sports now looking to push in and apply a bit of pressure onto the players here from the Rila Insiders. Ooh, but Zeke, he's sitting at the top of our MVP list for a reason, because he is able to, just maintain that laser focus when it comes to the aggression. But now, of course, the players here from CE Sports are going to try and push up in towards Hacienda del Patron. It is going to be a fight for control of the north. But there's still 13 teams remaining, Patchy. 42 players alive. Ooh, not quite sure if I agree with that rotation, but Risk is going to risk it as he heads right back up behind those ridge lines. And now the pressure is on. This is going to be such an easy push, actually, for the players of Rila Insider here.
Yeah, unless Wizard can conjure up some magic tricks out of his sleeve and come up with some quick dips and bobs and weaves and get some quick kills here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Rila Insider's got some good angles here. You can see J-Roller up on the roof. He's got a good angle in there. If they decide to try and sneak out of the building, you can potentially catch them out on that rotate. So they've got a good chokehold of this area, and I don't think CE Sports is going to be able to come out of this one. I mean, you can see Risks on the back line. He made that risky rotate to try and get a third angle from the side. But I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to capitalize on that right now. They might just find themselves caught out of position at the moment, depending on how the fight pans out. You can see Ellie moving off on the side here from C, looking for a potential push coming out of Zeke, and he does spot that out. He finds him walking up the side, but I'm not sure if he's able to catch him out. And no, he isn't. Gets downed immediately, and of course capitalized on by Zeke, who comes in for that confirm. And now Wizard, left alone on the side of the building, is going to try and find Zeke. He does get that knock, but now he's caught out. He knows, they know of his position. Has to be very, very careful. Looking for Trip. Tries to dip around the side. He actually gets the knock. That's huge. Gets the thirst off the back of that one as well. Now Wizard just keeping the team alive and knocking one by one of these Rila Insider players. Zeke not going to find himself in a good position. He's trying to crawl back to the rest of his team, but J-Roller wasn't there to try and find anything. He's blocked. The vision is blocked by that house. Now, Wizard has a perfect position to just sit there with Risks on the back line. They don't have to do anything too crazy. Risks tapping away with that Mini 14, and they've secured their position for the time being. So Wizard did manage to conjure something out of his sleeve after all.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good for them. Again, we see Risk and Wizard being the two remaining players for the side here of CE Sports, but the pressure is not going to get any less anytime soon, right? We're getting into those later phases. The zone has shifted away. They need to start thinking of that rotational path and how exactly they're going to find themselves back into the zone, because they are now also, aside from the players of Rila Insider, they do have this squad of Zero Tolerance. Well, the two remaining players from Zero Tolerance skills right here alongside them. So it's going to be a pretty risky play for Risk and Wizard to try and bring in. But it does also seem in the meanwhile that the players there from Rila Insider are starting to make their way towards the zone. Wizard, of course, looking to move up, but that is a very exposed rotation coming through. As you can see, the players there from Zero Tolerance now looking to strike down. With that, Wizard gets knocked right on down, and the pressure is on as the teams are trying to rush into the safety of zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Now pushing on up, you got Risks trying to find himself a little piece of safety here. Pushing through in towards that zone is going to come up against Zero Tolerance. Now he has to find and fight his way through this battle line here. He's going to be peeking out with Vortex one by one, but with the blue zone rushing up from behind, the pressure is now on for him to try and get over that line, and it's not going to be easy. Every single team is now in the same boat here as that zone closes up bit by bit by bit. Umar is going to find himself getting taken out. Wizard, of course, getting thirsted there in slam dunk coming on to Risks as well to take him out. Manfilis is going to fall to his demise and get instantly thirsted by 4KT. Jin goes down to Rao, and up comes Rao to try and get a couple more bits of damage here for the rest of his team. The Insiders trying to maintain their position here towards the north of the map as the teams start to roll past, try and get into the safety of that zone. Old boy, that trigger discipline going in, and we stare at the sky, but the shots don't go there. They go into the bodies. Down they go. Insiders getting taken out. Some very nice discipline coming out of Old boy. They're holding off until they expose themselves completely and then capitalizing on those kills. 7 teams now remaining. A 7 AOK getting assaulted by 4KT.
Yeah, the north is looking pretty tight. Of course, the vehicle's just getting moved up a little bit further away. Zero Tolerance. Vortex and Skydo holding strong on the edge of the zone. Rain looking to quickly jump up and get their numbers back. As we can see, Old Boy coming in for the res onto Jin. But this is a very, very exposed position to be. Unfortunately, the rest of the teams scattered throughout the zone are quite distracted with each other. Zeus, meanwhile, will be finding a beautiful knock. We do see Mr. Rogi still alive, finding the hits up into Rain from Hell. Beautiful play coming through for the side there of Toxic. But you can see Skull here from Seven Sins Arts of Killing, looking to make a bit of a stand over into the south. But this is so congested. So many players now trying to fight it out. And around the smoke, up comes the hits for KT. Looking to hold strong, but lag right there alongside them. Fear now finding themselves in a beautiful position on the opposite end. Oh, but with that, down goes the side of 4KT. I mean, that was just absolutely insane, but Fantasy just using that arm that he has gotten and just flunks those nades all the way across. But now we still see the players from Toxic. This is a good play coming in from Toxic. I mean, they've had a pretty tough run in the previous 2 matches, but for this round, they are able to stay in it all the way up to one of these late zones, being one of the final 5 remaining teams.
Yeah, and here we are, our 5 remaining teams now rolling up. It's lag trying to get themselves in and instantly capitalized. You can't make a rotate like that in a zone like this. No way, Jose. It doesn't work, and they get instantly eliminated. They tried, they failed. 4 teams remaining now, 9 players left. Just a tapping away from Swags in towards Skull to try and take him out of this game. They do not want 7 AOK to see one more round. They want to take them out right now. Skull juicing himself back up, but I'm not sure how much it's going to do. All of the crosshairs of just about every team up ahead of him is looking in his direction. With the blue zone riding on up, he is not long for this world right now. On up, trying to dodge the bullets of Swags, and so far he's working. He's in the Matrix right now, dodging those bullets as much as possible, but how long can it last? How long can you keep it going? Skull dashing from rock to rock, trying to find the cover, trying to get across that line, and I think he might have just made it barely in the zone for now. Toxic, of course, pushing up in towards Zero Tolerance, and Toxic still here on the sideline. This is a really, really big move coming for Toxic. They need these points, and well, right now, it's just not working out. Bones getting sniped out, leaving Unknown right up here for the taking. Mr. Rogi trying to pick a fight with Zero Tolerance, but it's not working out. And with the blue zone moving up, that's just instantly a bad play, a bad idea. The thirst comes through. Of course, it's just what do you do in a situation like that? Pinched from all sides. There's the blue zone. There's too many angles. Everyone is struggling right now. The side of Toxic not able to keep up with that pressure. Zero Tolerance now moving in towards Fear, but Fear have the compounder with the zone shifting again. It favors the team from Fear in this compound.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this could be the game for Fear. I mean, they find themselves in such a strong position, as you pointed out, being able to take occupation of this compound. It is in the zone. It is one of the strongest points to fight from in this current zone. And I mean, this is going to be so tough for Unknown and Skull to push in with, Vortex and Skydo hanging around on the top of that ridge. They'll definitely spot those rotations coming out. But Fear also just scanning the area, paying close attention, and waiting for that opportunity to present itself so they can strike and just confirm that winner chicken dinner.
Yeah, and that is exactly what they're looking to do, looking to make happen. It's only a matter of time before these teams get eliminated one by one. One by one. You can see I have the
It
win
is
on
one
the
by
mind.
win.
Yeah,
It is one by
win.
win
You're
because there's
right,
only
you're
one
right.
team that can win, so it makes sense.
Yeah. There's only one team that can feast on that delicious, spicy chicken dinner, and Fear are they're salivating over that meal. They know it's right in front of them. They just have to make sure they don't make any mistakes. They don't slip up, and this could be theirs. Skull, of course, getting enveloped by that blue zone and getting caught out in that is not very good when you're 7 zones deep. So he's basically down for the count at this point, unless he can somehow make it across into safety. Of course, Swag's keeping an eye out every now and then to see if he is going to make that push up. So I think Skull's time is up. His days are numbered right here. It is a matter of whether Zero Tolerance and Toxic will be able to do anything about it right now. Skeeto and Vortex know they have a little bit of a battle ahead of them, but they unfortunately have the issue of they know they need to push up to this compound to try and pick apart Fear. But if they do so, Unknown is still on the back line to make something happen, and they could get caught out. They have to be so careful. Skull, of course, making the dash. I mean, there was no other choice for him at that point. He had to try it. It wasn't going to work out. The shots come through, and the zone finishes him off. Vortex now knows he has to clear Unknown off the back line before ZTS can do anything about it. He knows this has to happen. This fight has to come through. The question is, can they win it? Blue Zone has moved up again, so the zone will shift very soon, and they're going to be forced closer. Vortex not going to go for the fight, which is going to mean that they still have Unknown on the back line, presenting a bit of a variable that they can't control. They needed to flush him out if they wanted to push up in towards Fear, and now they can't. They're stuck in this position until something happens.
Yeah, it's that great unknown factor, Patchy. That is exactly what it is. And I mean, a very fitting name to squeeze right in. But yeah, it is a 1v2v3 for the final shuffle, the final showdown. Hulk keeping a very attentive eye on the corner of these buildings. Skydo and Vortex just being quite patient. But yeah, I think we might actually see this maybe turn in favor of the players from Fear, as they do have the numbers advantage, but they are also quite close to the zone. Not 100% in it just yet, but Unknown and Fear, those are pretty much the 4 players we see having a decent setup. Vortex and Skydo are going to try and sneak their way on in, trying to stay ahead of that blue zone as it starts closing up. But the pressure is on here for Unknown, because not only is he going up against Zero Tolerance, who are creeping up towards him and trying to avoid the blue zone, he also needs to go up against the players from Fear. So it is going to be a pretty tall order. Fortunately, he does seem to be up for the challenge as he quickly rotates back into safety. Oh, come on. Up comes Vortex. He spotted him. It stays in the blood, but up comes the spray down. What do you get it though? Vortex just ducking and weaving, but unfortunately, down goes Unknown. Very valiant effort coming in nonetheless. But now it is Fear and Zero Tolerance skills going up against each other. The first few shots coming through as Vortex spots that move. This is a good play for Zero Tolerance to kind of forcing the Fear here.
Yeah, they know they had to make this fight absolutely happen, and with that knock on towards King, this makes it so much more doable for Zero Tolerance right now. Hulk in a position to try and maybe clap back, but the smoke obscuring that vision is going to make it hard to pinpoint where these Zero Tolerance players are playing from. They have done the exact set of things that they needed to do to take this fight. They've got the angles now. They took care of unknown. Those unknown variables have been wiped off the board, and now they're coming in. They're taking the fight straight towards Fear. Vortex does go down, but they're still in this one. Skidu can make this happen. If he can find Hulk, it's still possible. King, of course, going to get taken out. He bleeds out, and now Hulk trying to go around the smoke, but he's low on HP. It turns against Fear. They get picked apart. Zero tolerance check in all of those boxes. It's check after check for them. That all started with their decision to take that fight with unknown. It was exactly what they needed to do. They knew they had to take the fight against Fear, but they couldn't do it with unknown still on the back line, and they knew that fight had to happen. They eventually managed to make their way around. They took unknown out, and they were in the perfect position. They had some good height, and they took the fight straight to Fear. Very, very well played coming out of Zero Tolerance there.
Yeah, I mean, a good prioritization there. I have to agree. If they didn't take out the threat being presented by unknown, this could have potentially taken a swing, for a different kind of end. We could potentially have seen the side of Fear or even unknown coming in if they didn't move up and look to kind of, work on that position.
Well, I'm just super happy to see that Toxic and Fear got some points on the board. Zero tolerance kills, you guys have been doing all day, but Toxic and Fear getting some points on the board. That is amazing to see. Ladies and gentlemen, another amazing map, Miramar, showing off what is the Umzansi Esports League. You have to excuse me, just had a little bit of water. DK, what was the highlight of that particular final map for you?
I gotta say, this final play coming in from Zero Tolerance. I mean, they just read that whole situation so beautifully, and of course, you got to make sure the water goes down the right hole. Just saying. But yeah, I gotta say, Zero Tolerance, they just played this one exceptionally well. They just kept cool, calm, and collected. They did what they knew they had to do, and how they know to do it. Just stepped up and just swooped in, and just eliminated all the threats.
Speaking about that final play, Pachi, I was listening in on the casting, and you did say that Zero Tolerance skills seem to be making the wrong move with the rotation they were making, and then they changed direction and then went back in to take out unknown before facing Fear. And the numbers advantage from Fear didn't even count when Zero Tolerance skills pushed. Why was that?
Well, in that final scenario, it was a really difficult decision to make because Fear had a really good advantage with the building. It was the only building left. It was the only cover that they had, and they had to make the assault. They knew they had to go up against Fear. That was their biggest threat because there was only one player remaining in the form of Unknown. They had to deal with him, but the question was, were they going to be able to deal with Unknown before Fear can actually find them and take them out? So they had to be really, really careful with how they played it. They managed to get themselves up on the high ground, and like you said, they were going to push forward, and then they realized if they take that fight, it's going to go or it has the potential to go really, really badly. So instead, they maintained their position on the high ground. The smokes came down. They played around the side of the hill that was not visible to Fear. They dealt with Unknown, and they took that fight, and that was a risk that they had to take. They knew that they had to take that fight. It was a 1v2. They could have lost it, and they almost actually did get one of those players knocked, but they managed to win the fight, which was absolutely a huge win, and that basically swung the whole momentum for them. They were able to then turn their attention completely towards Fear, and just as luck seemed to have it, it shifted slightly forward, forcing Fear out of some of those buildings and a little bit more forward. Fear knew they had to take the fight as well, and they thought that that half wall was going to be enough. But the height that the opponents had on that hill was just exactly what Zero Tolerance needed to win that fight. They were able to utilize it. They were playing around the smoke. They didn't overextend themselves, and they just played absolutely perfectly, and they took their moment. As soon as the fight swung in their favor, they got one or two knocks, they got some good damage in. They didn't hesitate to go straight into that compound and take the fight to Fear. Instead of playing the angle from the top of the hill, which could have gone either way because of that half wall, they just pushed straight on in. They went for the fight and they won it, and absolutely well played. The MVP, of course, has to come out of Zero Tolerance skill. It's Skidu, taking 6 kills, 561 points of damage, 27 minutes survival time, and just, I have to say again, a very nicely played scenario coming out of the Zero Tolerance.
Yes, a very lovely scenario. Now let's take a look at the overall leaderboard. DK, talk us through the movers and shakers as we look at this leaderboard.
Movers and shakers. Well, yeah, that's a tough one. But of course, well, as we can see, moving on to our first page, G3 still managing to hold on to that top position, still being quite a few points ahead of the players there from Slime 4KT. But we did see Slime 4KT, you know, trying to kind of inch their way a little bit closer to that, as we saw them, you know, performing fairly well in today's games. Rila Insider also just increasing their own points. KHK still holding on to that fourth place. Zero Tolerance Skills. They had a little bit of a tough day today. Hopefully, as we move through the rest of the weekend, things would start looking up a little bit more for them. But of course, that is still what it was. At least this last game was absolutely beautiful. It was the one that just clicked for them. It added on that third winner chicken dinner. On the second page, of course, we can see the players there from Lag Esports sitting up in towards ninth. We got the team there from Aphelion Apex up into that 12th place. And of course, we've got Influence Rage holding on to 15th, and ATROX right there, hard on their heels, sitting on 16th. Solo still being the team up in the top 10, not having a winner chicken dinner. Saturday, they've got moved a little bit down, but hey, we did see some strong performances coming through, and potentially when it is Solo Esports' turn to step up, we could maybe see that winner chicken dinner come through for them. Over on the third page, as we have a gander here, we can see the players from Rainbow Six. Madagascar still sitting up in 17th place. Magicians still in the same kind of spot. We have Sincerity there as well. Natural Killers. Then, of course, we got Rain from Hell, one of the teams participating today, alongside Fear, Young Thunder, and the Immortals. So it's good to see the players there from Fear as well as the Immortals just moving themselves away from that kind of danger zone. They're not clear of it just yet, but they've been putting in the efforts. We have seen it across the gameplay coming through in our 3 matches. But the more important page to be looking at is going to be this final one, where we see, of course, Black Clover, Team Unique, XO Redefined. We've got Comfy 6, Toxic Esports, as well as Black Crystal and Ultra 6. Now, Comfy 6 and Toxic, we've been seeing them go at it. Comfy 6 not being able to find the necessary points just yet, but all is not lost for them. As you know, they could maybe improve a little bit through the rest of the weekend, but it is going to be a pretty tall order. As we can see, the numbers are pretty close, but all these teams, there's quite a few of them that are still to play. So the total scores are going to be changing up quite a bit.
So we have seen the leaderboard movers, shakers, and kill leaders. Patchy, who is killing who and leading where?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not surprising at all that we see 4KT still maintaining some good presence here on this kill leader list. Of course, Fex being the #1 kill leader at the moment with 39 kills and 6,900 very nice damage points right there coming out of him. And of course, on the other side, we've also got position #4 filled up by 4KT. There's 5 coming in with 29 kills and 6k damage just over. Of course, G3 also sporting their own build in there with 29 kills and 5,500 points of damage. And then the Rila Insiders also claiming a spot up here on the kill leader list in #2 with Zeke, 31 kills and 5,500 points of damage there. So, I mean, it's once again, it's unsurprising. These guys have been just absolutely performing across the season so far. They have been very consistent in their kills. They have absolutely led the charge when it comes to their teams and really getting in to the groove. And I mean, we've been saying this all the time. We've said it today. It's no surprise that these guys are doing very well. The biggest thing that I noticed, actually, I think, if correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think Fear actually was on that relegation page before this game. I think they might have moved themselves out of it with that one game. So they actually managed to get out of relegation zone so far, which is a good move from them. Unfortunately, that does mean a couple of shifts on that board is going to be difficult. But like DK pointed out, those positions in that sort of top half of the relegation page, they're actually not so far apart. The points are really close, so it is actually a very neck and neck battle amongst those teams to try and make it out of the frying pan.
Okay, out of the frying pan, hopefully not into the fire. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been our pleasure to serve you today with hot PUBG Mobile action. We being myself, Dr. Sid, Patchy, and DK. There is more action in the rest of the weekend, so you need to stay tuned to Nordwind Gaming. Make sure you follow us on all our socials, and make sure you check out nordwindgaming.africa for all the information on the Umzansi Esports League and all our other assets. So from me and the rest of the guys, it is good night, and we will see you tomorrow for some more action in the Umzansi Esports League, brought to you by Nordwing Gaming. And this is, season 4. Good night, guys.